It was in the French capital 8 years ago that the Paris Agreement was adopted by countries during the United Nations COP21 summit. The legally binding treaty saw nations pledge to limit the global average temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to aim for 1.5. But the first global stocktake, to be concluded at COP28, shows the world is not on track to deliver its goals. France has been making strides in reducing its carbon footprint, but experts say it's still not enough.
Emissions of greenhouse gases in France are decreasing and have been decreasing for a decade. It's part of about 20 countries globally that have been on this trajectory. But it's kind of a glass half full situation. Emissions are decreasing, but they're not decreasing as fast as they should if we want to meet our current commitments.
France is pledging to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And in line with EU targets, to halve its emissions by 2030 compared with 1990. Working in its favour, France widely uses nuclear power, which is a low-carbon source of energy, and it wants 40% of its electricity to come from green sources by 2030. But it emerged last year that France was one of the only EU member states that missed its renewable energy targets in 2020. Analysts say that French dependence on petrol-fuelled cars is increasing, and that the transition to electric vehicles is too slow. Aware of the urgency of the situation, the country is putting more initiatives in place to reduce emissions. It has banned air travel for domestic short-haul journeys, if the trip can be made by train. Under the French climate and resilience law, France wants clothes to be sold with labels which reveal their environmental impact. And laws have already been tightened for the real estate sector, so that new buildings must have a lower carbon footprint. Some developers, like Novaxia, see this as an opportunity. It converts existing buildings into low-carbon developments, with measures including rainwater harvesting solutions and green rooftops mandated by the French government, and additional steps including smart meters to monitor water and electricity use.
We have many laws which are surpassing the European obligation. So in France, not only we have a carbon intensity and carbon intensity of the electricity consumption, which is relatively low thanks to nuclear energy. We also have much more regulation on the real estate sector than at the European level.
France has not been immune to the effects of climate change, having experienced devastating floods and sweltering summers in recent years. And authorities, companies and individuals are all working on solutions so that the country can play its part in trying to deliver on the Paris Agreement.